Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my top secret recipes that I've been making for about 20 years. I used to make this back in my dorm room at UMass with a box fan, beef jerky out the window, filled the whole hall with the smell of beef and soy sauce. Everybody loved it, even the vegetarians. So of course the essential part of a beef jerky recipe is the actual beef. I like using flank steak because the way this recipe goes, we cut it into strips almost like beef bacon. And this cut works really well for that. To cut it, you're going to need a nice sharp kitchen knife. Then once you've got it cut into strips, you're going to have to pound it out with a nice meat tenderizer here, also known as a meat mallet and meat destroyer in the Ford household. So what I'm doing now is taking my nice sharp knife and just making strips of beef. You'll see that as I'm cutting the strips of beef, it almost looks like bacon. We're going to use the mallet to flatten them out even more. The way I like to flatten out the beef is to take a few of the strips and lay them out on your cutting board. You want a nice good solid board that you can hammer on. Then I'll put a piece of parchment paper over the beef and then use my meat destroyer to flatten it out. I like to use the flat side, not the tenderizing side. This is looking just about right for me. Starting to look like beef jerky. I'll give it a couple more swings. This is just how I like my beef jerky. It's a little bit thick, but thin enough that it'll actually absorb all the liquid ingredients. Now that my wife is thoroughly frustrated of me beating my meat for 20 minutes over here in the kitchen, we're gonna go ahead and take the last piece and put it into the bowl. So we've got our 2 pounds of beef, flank strips, all cut up into nice thin bacon style strips. And now we're gonna add the liquid ingredients that actually turn it into beef jerky. The first liquid ingredient I'm gonna add, that I've always called Worcestershire sauce, but I've recently been corrected is Worcestershire sauce, the proper pronunciation. But anyway, whatever it's called, we're gonna put about 3/4 of a cup into our mix. Next up is a good soy sauce. Same amount, 3/4 of a cup. I like Kikkoman, it's my favorite. We're gonna follow that up with the last liquid ingredient, which is a local honey. Highly recommend that you find a nice local one to your environment. I don't measure this at all. I just put it into what I feel is enough. And I feel enough is that much. Now we're gonna layer in our dry ingredients, starting with a little bit of cayenne pepper. Again, you can put as much or a little as you want. I've got about a tablespoon of each one of these dry ingredients. It's our garlic powder. It's our onion powder. It's our freshly grated pepper. And then finally, hot pepper flakes. Again, put these into your liking for hot seasoning. There you go, we have the basis for what's gonna be our jerky. Now we're just gonna mush it all together. By the way, this smells incredible. So once you have all the meat coated with all of the ingredients, the last step is to put it into a Ziploc bag and then let it marinate overnight. So our bag of Ziploc is all cleaned up. I wiped it off and then I wrapped it in some nice paper towels. And now I'm gonna put it in the fridge so it can marinate overnight. I like to leave it in the fridge like this in a paper towel. And then every few hours, I'll pick the bag up and shake it up and rotate it and then put it back in. So that's it for today. We're gonna let it sit in the fridge overnight and then tomorrow we'll finish it off in the convection oven to have our homemade beef jerky. See you tomorrow.